welcome back to our channel. Unlock the secrets of the 1-cent penny and discover its surprising value beyond face value. The 1974 USA 1-cent penny is more than just a piece of everyday currency. It's a coin steeped in history, touched by experimentation, and surrounded by intrigue that has captivated collectors for decades. While it may look like any other penny you've held in your hand, this small copper coin carries a legacy tied to economic shifts, minting innovation, and a few surprising twists that continue to make it one of the most fascinating and desirable pieces in modern numismatics. And as we journey through its story, from conception to circulation and beyond, you'll discover how a single 1974 penny could end up being worth a staggering $130,000. To understand why this coin stands out, we first need to revisit the economic climate of the early 1970s in the United States. The country was grappling with high inflation, rising commodity prices, and a volatile global economy. The cost of raw materials used in coinage, particularly copper, was steadily climbing. For the U.S. Mint, this posed a serious concern. Producing a penny that cost more than 1 cent in materials alone wasn't sustainable, so officials began looking for alternatives that could reduce costs without disrupting the coinage system. This was the backdrop against which the 1974 penny was born, a year that marked a pivotal point for the U.S. Mint. Traditionally, the penny had been made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But with copper prices climbing, the Mint began seriously exploring different compositions. A series of experiments were conducted to find a cheaper material that could be used in place of copper while still allowing the penny to function normally in commerce. The solution they landed on, at least temporarily, was aluminum. In an effort to reduce the production cost of the penny, the U.S. Mint struck over 1.5 million experimental 1-cent coins in aluminum during 1974. These coins, which were meant for testing and distribution among select members of Congress, featured the same design as their copper counterparts but had a distinct silver-gray color and were dramatically lighter in weight. From a distance, they looked a bit like dimes due to their color, but upon closer inspection, the classic image of Abraham Lincoln was unmistakably present. The design remained consistent with the traditional Lincoln cent. On the obverse, Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of President Lincoln stood proud. On the reverse, Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, continued to provide a modern backdrop for the familiar face of the penny. Though there were no visible differences in design between the copper and aluminum versions, their composition told entirely different stories. But despite the initial enthusiasm around the aluminum cents, several concerns quickly arose. First, the new material created problems for vending machines and coin-operated devices, which were designed to detect specific metal compositions. Even more critically, aluminum was difficult for X-ray machines to detect, raising concerns from the medical community about patients swallowing coins. These issues caused a significant shift in momentum. The experiment was short-lived. The aluminum pennies never saw official release into circulation. The Mint ordered nearly all the aluminum cents destroyed, and the project was scrapped. What makes the 1974 penny so captivating to collectors is that not all of these experimental coins were returned. A few examples are known to have survived, tucked away in collections or forgotten in drawers. Their very existence is something of a numismatic mystery. These aluminum cents, combined with the regular copper 1974 pennies and their own interesting variations, have given rise to a whole realm of interest within the collector community. Of course, most of the 1974 pennies that ended up in circulation were not aluminum. The U.S. Mint continued producing the standard copper alloy cents, and millions of them were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. These coins were widely circulated and became a common part of American life. However, even within the standard copper pennies, certain rarities and errors emerged that further fueled interest in the 1974 cent. Among the most notable variants are the double-die obverse pennies. In these rare examples, you can see a doubling of the lettering and date on the front of the coin, a result of the die being slightly misaligned during the minting process. This doubling gives the coin a distinct look and adds a significant premium to its value. Only a small number of these double-die pennies were produced, making them incredibly rare and highly desirable to collectors. Another variation that fascinates enthusiasts is the difference in mint marks. In 1974, pennies were struck at 3 mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Proof coins, which are struck with specially prepared dies and polished blanks for collectors, were produced at the San Francisco Mint. These proof pennies are often of superior quality, with sharp details and mirror-like finishes, making them attractive additions to any collection. As time passed and more collectors began to recognize the significance of the 1974 penny, especially those tied to the experimental aluminum strikes and rare double die errors, the value of specific coins from that year began to rise sharply. What was once a humble, overlooked piece of pocket change became a treasure worth searching for, a small token of American history with a big impact. The allure of the 1974 penny lies not just in its design or its scarcity but in the story it tells. It's a coin that represents a moment of change, a time when the U.S. Mint was experimenting and innovating in response to economic pressure. It's also a reminder that even the most common objects can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. Every 1974 penny has a potential tale to tell, whether it's a rare error, a proof coin, or one of the elusive aluminum specimens that escaped destruction. Collectors are drawn to the 1974 penny for many reasons: its experimental background, its design continuity, and the thrill of possibly discovering one of the few surviving aluminum examples. It's a coin that bridges the gap between ordinary currency and historical artifact. It represents a transitional moment in the way America thought about its money, and in many ways, it encapsulates the changing economy and priorities of a nation navigating uncertainty. And now, for the part that everyone has been waiting for. What is a 1974 penny really worth today? While most circulated copper examples may only fetch a small premium over face value, it's the rare varieties that command the highest prices. Among them, the aluminum experimental pennies, those few that were never returned to the mint, are the crown jewels. One of these incredibly rare 1974 aluminum cents, depending on its condition and provenance, can be worth up to an astonishing $130,000. That's right, a coin that was never meant to enter circulation, a penny that weighs just over 0.9 grams, can now command a six-figure price tag in the collector market. It's a testament to how history, rarity, and a little bit of mystery can transform something as simple as a 1-cent coin into one of the most valuable and exciting finds in American coin collecting. So, the next time you spot a penny dated 1974, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Take a closer look, it might just be one of the rarest and most valuable pieces hiding in plain sight. The 1995 USA 1-cent penny might not catch your attention at first glance. It's a coin most people have seen countless times, tossed into jars, slipped into vending machines, or forgotten under couch cushions. But there's far more to this little copper coin than meets the eye. Beneath its familiar image lies a story that weaves through American history, minting innovation, human error, and the ever-growing fascination of collectors who know that even the most ordinary-looking penny can hold extraordinary value. And by the end of this journey, you'll understand how one 1995 penny could be worth an incredible $116,000. To appreciate what makes this particular coin so special, we need to begin with the state of the country and its currency during the mid-1990s. The economy was growing, the tech boom was just beginning, and the U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity to keep up with an expanding money supply. The penny, though declining in purchasing power, still played a crucial role in daily transactions. In 1995 alone, the U.S. Mint struck billions of 1-cent coins, most of them disappearing quickly into circulation. From a design perspective, the 1995 penny remained consistent with the long-standing features introduced decades earlier. The obverse of the coin, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909, still bore the stately profile of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This design had stood the test of time, and over the years, it had become a deeply familiar image to Americans of all generations. The reverse side of the coin, created by Frank Gasparo in 1959, featured the Lincoln Memorial, another powerful national symbol, anchoring the penny firmly in the country's cultural and historical identity. By this point, the penny was no longer made mostly of copper. In 1982, the mint had switched to a primarily zinc composition with a thin copper coating, a cost-saving measure brought on by rising metal prices. The 1995 penny followed this newer composition formula, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, making it lighter and less expensive to produce. This change, while invisible to most people, is part of what makes coin collecting in this era more nuanced, as collectors must be aware of both metallic content and minting variations when evaluating a coin's rarity and value. But the real reason the 1995 penny stands out among collectors isn't its composition or even its design. It's a simple mistake, one that transformed a standard coin into a highly sought-after treasure. That mistake is the double die error. On a small number of 1995 pennies, the lettering on the obverse side of the coin, especially Liberty and the phrase, "In God We Trust," appears doubled, as if it was slightly misprinted or shadowed. This phenomenon occurred due to a misalignment in the die during the minting process, where the design was struck more than once, causing a noticeable doubling effect. Double die errors are a favorite among numismatists. Unlike common post-mint damage or wear, a double die occurs during the coin's actual creation, making it a genuine mint error and not the result of outside factors. This is what gives the 1995 double die penny such a strong appeal. It's a recognized, documented error that happened at the source. Collectors love these kinds of coins because they tell a story, not of wear or accident, but of a small slip in the industrial rhythm of the mint that led to a visual quirk and eventual legend. What's particularly fascinating about the 1995 double die penny is that it's not as elusive as some other rare errors. A relatively higher number of these coins made it into circulation before the error was caught. As a result, sharp-eyed collectors and everyday people alike began discovering these unusual-looking pennies in their change. Some even found multiple examples, sparking widespread interest. For many collectors, the 1995 double die was their introduction to error coin collecting, a gateway into the larger world of numismatics. But finding one in excellent condition? That's where things get tricky. Most of the 1995 double die pennies that survived are well worn from years of use. Spotting one that still has crisp details, minimal surface damage, and a strong doubling effect is much rarer. Condition, or grade, plays a huge role in determining value. A coin that's been heavily circulated might bring in a small premium, while a pristine, uncirculated example can command a price many times greater. Beyond the doubling, another layer of intrigue comes from the mint marks. The 1995 penny was struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D. The most famous of the double die errors came from the Philadelphia mint, and it's these coins, those without any mint mark at all, that are most prized. The Denver minted 1995 pennies, while produced in large numbers, didn't produce the same doubling error, which helps collectors narrow their search when seeking the valuable variety. The appeal of the 1995 penny also lies in its accessibility. Unlike older coins or obscure commemoratives, this is a coin from the modern era, one that still shows up in circulation from time to time. It sparks excitement because it holds the possibility that anyone, anywhere, might stumble upon a rare piece of numismatic history just by checking their pocket change. That sense of possibility, that thrill of discovery, is what fuels the hobby and keeps the legend of this coin alive. Over the years, as more and more collectors sought out the 1995 double die penny, its value steadily climbed. While common examples in lower grades may only bring modest sums, the best preserved specimens, those with sharp doubling and high-grade surfaces, are in a league of their own. They're carefully stored, meticulously graded, and proudly showcased by collectors who understand just how rare they really are. But what truly elevates this coin to legendary status is the market demand that's developed around it. The interest is not limited to seasoned collectors. Casual hobbyists, investors, and even those with no previous knowledge of coins have taken notice, fueling a competitive and passionate market. The mystique of the 1995 double die penny continues to grow, making it one of the most talked about modern era coins in American history. And now, after all the history, the design intricacies, the minting details, and the stories from collectors around the country, we arrive at the part everyone's been waiting for. Just how much is this tiny coin, this 1-cent piece from 1995, actually worth? The answer, of course, depends on the coin's condition and the clarity of the doubling. But in the best-case scenario, for a top-grade, sharply struck example of the 1995 double die penny, the value can soar to an astonishing $116,000. That's right, what was once a routine piece of change, struck in the billions and handed over without a second thought, can now be a six-figure prize. It's a remarkable transformation, made possible by a perfect storm of historical timing, minting error, and collector enthusiasm. The 1995 USA 1-cent penny has earned its place in the spotlight, not just as a coin, but as a symbol of how the ordinary can become extraordinary. So next time you get a penny in your change, take a closer look. You never know what you might be holding. That plain copper coin could be more than just a cent. It might be a tiny piece of history, and possibly even a hidden fortune. The 2005 USA 1-cent penny is one of those coins that you might overlook 1,000 times without thinking twice. It's small, common, and familiar, found in pockets, cash registers, and change trays across the country. But like many coins, there's more to it than meets the eye. Beneath its copper-tinted surface is a story that ties into the ongoing evolution of the American penny, the subtle but fascinating changes in minting technology, and a surprise twist that has captured the attention of collectors everywhere. And at the end of this journey, we'll reveal just how one of these seemingly ordinary 2005 pennies could be worth a life-changing $105,000. To truly understand why this coin has become so special, we need to explore the world it came from. By 2005, the penny had already seen a century's worth of history. Its design had remained mostly consistent since 1909, when Abraham Lincoln's profile first appeared on the obverse side to mark the centennial of his birth. The reverse, which for decades had featured the Lincoln Memorial, was still firmly in place in 2005, giving the coin a design continuity that few others could match. That familiarity helped cement the penny's place in American culture. It wasn't just a coin, it was a symbol of the small, humble acts that make up everyday life. In 2005, the U.S. Mint was continuing to strike billions of 1-cent coins each year to meet demand, despite debates about the penny's relevance. With inflation creeping upward and the cost of materials rising, the cost of producing a penny was approaching, and sometimes even exceeding, its face value. Still, the penny persisted, both as a unit of currency and a cultural artifact. This was a time when the digital economy was growing, but cash still ruled in most transactions. That meant coins like the 2005 penny remained an essential part of daily life. What's particularly interesting about the 2005 penny is that while it looks like so many others from the era, certain small details have made it stand out in the world of numismatics. This wasn't a year of major design overhaul for the cent, those would come later, starting in 2009 to celebrate Lincoln's 200th birthday, but even in years where no design changes were announced, the mint still occasionally produced coins that became rare due to something no one planned. Error. In the case of the 2005 penny, one of the most important elements for collectors is the presence of die varieties and striking errors. These are small, often barely noticeable imperfections or differences that occur during the minting process. They might include doubling of letters, off-center strikes, die clashes, or other anomalies. What makes 2005 a standout year is that a few of these errors were so subtle that they went unnoticed for quite some time, and once they were discovered, collectors began scrambling to find them. One of the most sought-after varieties involves a doubling error, similar to famous coins from earlier years, like the 1995 double die. In these 2005 cents, there are reports of very slight but noticeable doubling on inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." These doubling effects are caused by a misalignment between the working dies during the minting process. It's not something that could happen by wear or damage, it had to have occurred at the moment the coin was born. That gives it tremendous value in the eyes of collectors. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly aligned when it was struck, leaving part of the design cut off or misaligned. These kinds of errors can be dramatic or slight, but they always catch the eye and invite curiosity. A perfectly preserved off-center strike from 2005 is rare and highly desirable. There are also reports of coins struck on foreign planchets, blanks meant for other denominations or even other countries, that somehow made it into the production line. These coins are lighter or heavier than normal, and their composition can be slightly off, which further adds to their mystique. Even beyond errors, the 2005 penny holds interest for collectors because of the time period in which it was created. The early 2000s marked a transitional moment in the world of coin collecting. With the internet becoming more accessible and online marketplaces like eBay gaining popularity, more people than ever before were discovering the joy of coin collecting. This meant increased demand for coins from relatively recent years, especially those with errors or high-quality examples that were preserved in mint condition. The quality of the strike is another important factor. Not every coin that rolls out of the mint is created equal. Some are more sharply struck, have cleaner surfaces, or have fewer marks and blemishes. These high-grade examples, especially those that have been professionally graded and certified, can command serious premiums. A 2005 penny that looks flawless to the naked eye might still be deemed average by a grading expert, while one with perfect details and minimal contact marks could skyrocket in value. So why would anyone pay tens of thousands, or even six figures, for a penny from 2005? It's not just the coin itself. It's what it represents, a convergence of rarity, condition, timing, and demand. For a collector, owning a unique or high-grade coin from a modern era is like holding a piece of hidden history. It's proof that even in a time when machines and mass production dominate, a few coins still slip through that are truly one of a kind, and there's something deeply satisfying about the possibility that a fortune could be hiding in plain sight. The average person doesn't expect to find treasure in their pocket change, but the story of the 2005 penny reminds us that it's entirely possible. You don't need to be an expert or a millionaire to participate in the world of rare coins. You just need curiosity, a good eye, and maybe a little bit of luck. As collectors and hobbyists continue to dig through rolls of coins, visit flea markets, and examine old jars of change, the hunt for rare pennies like the 2005 errors goes on. It's a quiet but thrilling pursuit, one that combines history, art, mystery, and potential reward in a way few hobbies can match. The penny, though small and often ignored, is one of the most iconic pieces of American currency for a reason, and now, we come to the part everyone's been waiting for. How much can a 2005 penny really be worth? While most examples are still worth 1 cent, the rarest varieties, those with doubling, mint errors, or pristine, uncirculated condition, can be worth far, far more. In fact, the most exceptional 2005 penny known to collectors today has been valued at a jaw-dropping $105,000. That's the kind of number that turns heads, the kind of story that makes you look at every penny a little differently. So, the next time you come across a 2005 penny, don't dismiss it as pocket change. Take a moment, flip it over, check for imperfections or doubling. You never know, you just might be holding something worth more than most people would ever believe. The 2018 USA 1 cent penny, like so many coins we use every day, might appear completely ordinary at first glance. It's small, it's copper-colored, and it's something millions of Americans handle without a second thought. It jingles in our pockets, rests at the bottom of purses, and often goes unnoticed in a pile of change. But as any seasoned collector knows, the most extraordinary treasures are often hidden in the most familiar places. The 2018 penny is one of those quiet treasures, an unassuming coin with a story that stretches through history, evolves through design and technology, and holds surprises that few would expect. This little coin, minted in a modern era, is more than just currency. It's a symbol of transformation, and for some lucky collectors, a potential doorway to something truly valuable. To understand the full significance of the 2018 penny, we need to look at its roots. The penny, or 1 cent coin, has been a staple of American coinage for more than a century. Since 1909, the face of Abraham Lincoln has adorned the front of the coin, celebrating the 100th anniversary of his birth that year. Over the decades, the reverse has changed, most notably in 1959, when the wheat ears design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, and again in 2009 when 4 special reverses marked the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the coin itself. In 2010, the U.S. Mint introduced a new and current reverse design known as the Union Shield. This design was selected to represent President Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single and united nation through the Civil War. The shield bears 13 vertical stripes representing the original states joined together under a single horizontal bar, symbolizing unity through strength. At the center of it all, the large inscription, 1 cent, stretches across the shield, firmly declaring the coin's identity. This design continued through to the 2018 penny. The obverse retained Brenner's original portrait of Lincoln, modified slightly over time but still immediately recognizable. These were not rare or commemorative coins. They were struck in huge numbers, billions, in fact, and were produced for general circulation. Most would enter the world, pass through countless hands, endure years of wear, and ultimately end up forgotten. But a few, just a few, were destined for something different. Even though the 2018 penny was part of this ongoing tradition and mass production, certain small variations and errors made their way into the mix. And that's where things become exciting. Because as predictable as modern minting is, with its advanced machinery and tight quality control, mistakes still happen. These errors, often created in fractions of a second, turn regular coins into objects of fascination and incredible value. Among the most notable of these are double die errors, where the coin's design, most often on the obverse side, appears to have been struck twice. On some 2018 pennies, particularly from the Philadelphia Mint, slight doubling is visible on Liberty and In God We Trust. The doubling may be subtle to the casual observer, but under magnification or to trained eyes, it's clear, and it's a clue that the coin is something special. Because when it comes to double dies, rarity and condition matter above all else. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't perfectly aligned with the dies, resulting in a misaligned design. These can range from mild to dramatic. In some cases, part of Lincoln's profile may be shifted or even missing. There are also die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin develops a fracture, leaving raised lines or ridges on the surface of the penny. All these features are not meant to be there, but once they are discovered, they instantly elevate the status of a coin from ordinary to collectible. Another factor that comes into play with the 2018 penny is its metallic composition. Like other recent pennies, it consists of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. But on rare occasions, a penny may be struck on an incorrect planchet, like one meant for a dime, a foreign coin, or an older penny. These rare off-metal strikes are among the most thrilling discoveries in the world of coin hunting. They're not supposed to exist, and yet, they do. What makes the 2018 penny especially fascinating is that it was minted at a time when coin collecting was seeing renewed interest, thanks to social media and online marketplaces. Videos of rare coin finds began going viral, and a new generation of collectors was born, people suddenly paying close attention to the change in their wallets and purses. The hunt was on, and the 2018 penny became part of that story. Because once someone finds an error coin worth thousands, the idea that any coin could be valuable doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. Collectors also began noticing something else. Some 2018 pennies, when preserved in near-perfect condition, began selling for significantly more than face value even without errors. Why? Because pristine coins are surprisingly rare. Most pennies are scratched, dinged, and worn from the moment they hit circulation. But a coin that's been saved straight from a roll, untouched, or carefully preserved can earn a high grade from professional grading services, and with that, its value rises sharply. Those who are serious about collecting began submitting these 2018 pennies for grading, and what came back was stunning. Some of the highest graded examples, flawless, with bold strikes and clean surfaces, became instant collector items. Demand increased. As more people learned about the potential value of their everyday change, the attention around the 2018 penny continued to build. Suddenly, it wasn't just seasoned collectors who were interested. Families, students, retirees, people from all walks of life, began paying attention to their pennies again. So what determines whether a 2018 penny is truly valuable? It's a combination of factors: rarity, error, condition, and market demand. A coin with a clear double die error, struck off-center, or minted on the wrong planchet, and preserved in mint state condition, now that's a coin that can command attention. Add in the fact that it comes from a recent year, where billions of coins were made, and the contrast is even more dramatic. Out of billions, just a handful have these unique traits. And that rarity, that near impossibility, is what collectors prize most. Each time a coin like that is discovered, it inspires thousands more to check their change. It creates ripples of curiosity and hope. Because if someone else can find a rare penny in everyday life, maybe anyone can. And maybe the next person to discover a truly valuable 2018 penny is someone who never thought much about coins before, until they held one, looked closely, and realized they were holding something special. Now comes the moment that many have been waiting for. After exploring the story, the history, the design, the minting process, and the collector appeal of the 2018 1-cent coin, we reach the most exciting part of all. What is the most valuable 2018 penny known to collectors worth today? In a case where the coin features a rare error, such as a strong double die, off-metal strike, or another unique minting anomaly, and is preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, professionally graded at the highest levels, it can be worth an incredible $88,000. Yes, a modern penny, struck in a time of advanced machines and high production volume, can still turn out to be something extraordinary. So the next time you receive a penny in change and it happens to be from 2018, don't toss it aside. Take a closer look. Because in a world where so much seems predictable, there are still surprises hiding in plain sight, and one of them might just be sitting quietly in the palm of your hand.